Hello everybody and welcome to this Get Started with MindGenius video from Biggerplate.com. In this video we're going to show you how to use the most important basic features of MindGenius so that you can quickly start using this fantastic mind mapping software in your work, your studies or at home. This video covers everything you need to know in order to complete the Biggerplate certification process using MindGenius, which is a great next step if you want to test and validate your new software skills. You can learn more about our certification at biggerplate.com/certification, but for now, let's get started with MindGenius. So let's begin with some simple mind map building. To create a new mind map in MindGenius, we've got two very simple options. Up here in the File menu, we've got the option to say New from Default Template. This is just a blank mind map, or you can use some of the inbuilt templates that the MindGenius program provides. So, for example, if we wanted to create a template for strategy planning, you see there's a set of templates here, and if I click those to begin, MindGenius is going to create a map for me using an existing template. Now, because we've got a mind map that we're going to use for our presentation for this video, we don't need to create a new mind map, but that's as simple as it is to start a new or template mind map in MindGenius. Adding topics into your MindGenius maps can be done using the menu or the keyboard. If you're going to use the menu, then you just look up to the home and then add branch, and you'll see here we've got options for inserting either a child or a sibling. Now a child is sort of an offshoot of whatever topic you're on, so you see there it's come as an offshoot. A sibling is a topic at the same level, so if I add that in there you'll see it's on the same level as this menu item, whereas the child is, if you like, the offspring of our menu topic. Now using this menu every time to add new topics is a little bit slow, and actually a much quicker way of adding topics into your mind map is to simply use your keyboard. Now you can use the insert key to build outwards, so that child topic, if you like, is the child is insert, and then return or enter is going to be that sibling topic that we looked at just a minute ago. So I'd recommend, if you're going to really make use of mind mapping software like MindGenius, that you get used to using your keyboard to build out topics. It's going to be a lot quicker and a lot easier to just do that as you're thinking and working, rather than constantly popping back up and down to that menu to insert topics one at a time. Once you've started to build out a little bit more of a mind map, you may at times want to show or hide certain topics or sections in your mind map. Now you'll see within MindGenius there are lots of these little plus or minus symbols, and that's the quickest and easiest way, if you like, to hide information. So by clicking that minus, it just collapses or hides everything from that topic beneath. Similarly, you can also click the plus icon to expand whatever's beneath. You can, again, if you want to get used to using keyboard shortcuts, use the shift and arrow keys, so the left and right keys, to show and hide certain information. So whatever topic you're on, if you click shift and left, it's going to hide what's under there. If I click shift and right, it's going to sort of expand it as we go. So using the keyboards, shift and arrow to do that. You can also use the options to showing different levels, and you can see down just in the bottom here, we've got some options to show different levels of the mind map. Now that can be quite useful when perhaps the map starts to get quite big. So if we just zoom out here and I click the central topic and come back and say show me the level 2 out to level 2, you'll see it's just expanded the whole map just to that second level. And similarly I can say show me level 3, and so on and so forth. So a nice way, particularly when maps start to get quite big but you want to just see those kind of summary of a topic or a branch, using those quick ways to expand and build out your showing and hiding of particular information. Once your MindGenius map starts to get a bit bigger, you may start to realize you want to move things around, change where topics are connected, and maybe recategorize and change some of the information you've added. So moving information within MindGenius is very, very simple, and you can either move individual topics or multiple topics or entire branches. To move an individual topic, simply left click with your mouse and hold that mouse button down, and you'll see I've detached that topic from this tree structure that was in. And now if I hover it near some of the other topics, you'll see it shows me where it's going to kind of land if I release the mouse. So if I release this, it's going to now sit under that entire branch. So again, I could just left click and hold, move that again, and it's going to show me MindGenius where that topic is going to land when I release the mouse. So really quick and easy to move individual topics. But of course we may sometimes want to move multiple topics at once, and we can do this either by dragging the left click of our mouse, and you'll see I've highlighted these two topics. I can now again left click and hold and drag both of those over to the other branch wherever I want to move it. If I undo that, I can also do control and click. So I can use the control key on my keyboard to select multiple topics individually. This can be particularly useful when topics aren't naturally near each other, which would enable you to use the drag. So for example, I could control and click these two topics that aren't really next to each other, and I can just move them both down to here nice and easily. So to just undo that change and show one final thing, we can also move entire branches in MindGenius, and this gets very, very powerful when you're really starting to organize lots of information, because I can, if I wanted to, move this entire branch over to here and create a whole new section of my Mymap. So moving branches obviously takes all of that sub information with it, which when the map starts to get quite big is a very powerful way of manipulating and organizing large volumes of information. Next, let's look at editing and navigation in our MindGenius maps. When it comes to editing, there's not too much to say except pointing out a couple of simple functions. If you want to edit the text that's within a topic, all you need to do is double click on that topic and then select where you want to type. So for example, if I wanted to change the text in this topic, I double click and you see I can add, change as I need just by double clicking into the topic. And again, I've got your very sort of typical cursor options that I can then use to format, add or change my text. If I want to delete topics from the Mymap, so let's say I add something extra and then decide I no longer want that, all I need to do is just click on that topic and hit the delete key, as you might expect on my keyboard. One final note when it comes to editing is it's worth noting, because some people don't realize you can do it, you can actually copy and paste topics or entire branches within your MindGenius maps. So for example, if I use the Control and C key on my keyboard, I can copy that particular topic and, for example, paste it onto here. That's useful in itself, but what's sometimes even more useful is actually being able to copy and paste entire branches. So for example, I could copy this entire editing branch using Control C, and again just paste that onto this section, and you'll see now I've got this duplicate branch here. Now this is again a useful function when your map starts to get quite large and you're trying to manage things where sometimes you need to have information represented perhaps in two different places, or you just want to quickly take sections of a map and move it across to somewhere else. Learning to navigate your way around a MindGenius map is going to be really useful once those maps start to develop and become a little bit bigger. There are a few key things we want to be able to do here. Perhaps one of the most important is to simply zoom in and out of our Mymap, and there's multiple ways of approaching this. We can use our keyboard and the Control and plus and minus keys to simply zoom in or zoom out using the keyboard. We also have down the bottom of the MindGenius screen here on the bottom right, you can see we've got this zoom slider, so I can zoom out or zoom in pretty easily with that. I tend to find that's a little oversensitive and I can find myself zooming too far out or too far in, but it's another option you've got there to use. Also, another thing I use quite often is simply using the mouse wheel or my trackpad to either zoom in or zoom out just by holding Control and using my mouse wheel, or if I'm using my laptop and I haven't got a mouse, I can simply use the trackpad to zoom in or out just with that sort of finger pinch that you use on most devices. You also have the option of doing what they call a sort of auto zoom, which you can find down here on the bottom right, and that's just going to fit the map into the screen size you've got. So if I click that, you'll see it's just zoomed out so that everything I've got on display in the map is now fitted within that screen. So again, a nice way if you find yourself really focusing in on a particular detailed section of the map to just zoom out and remember and contextualize where you are in the overall picture. In addition to the zooming in and out, we obviously also want to be able to move around the canvas of our MindGenius maps nice and easily, and there's a couple of different ways to do this. The first is to use the sliders that you can see on the bottom and to the right hand side of your map. Very simple, very familiar from pretty much any software these days, is to simply scroll it up, down, and left and right to simply move the map depending on where you need to go. One of the most common features I use to move around maps efficiently though is actually to kind of grab the canvas. So if you click your left mouse button and hold it in some white space, or some empty space, you'll see the cursor changes to a little grab hand, and if you hold onto your mouse, you see you can then start to move the canvas around, pulling the mouse around and pulling the canvas around just using this little grab hand. Now this is what I use 99% of the time to move my way around a map, particularly when I'm sort of operating in sort of similar areas in the map and just need to quickly jump around between different sections. When it comes to formatting the topics and information in your MindGenius maps, you've got plenty of options, most of which can be accessed via either the main menu and the format section, which you can see up here is along from home. We then get to format, and you've got lots of different formatting options in here that you can explore in your own time. Or anywhere you are in the map, you can also right click and see here the style option, which will then click open this dialog menu with lots of options in here as well. And we'll use a couple of these different options as we illustrate how you can do this. So if we go to the formatting options, what we can do is change the color of the topic, the text, things like that. So for example, up here in our formatting menu, I've got this topic selected. So for example, if I wanted to change the background color in that topic to this kind of color, I could also change the color of the text to a different color as well within that topic. At the moment, I'm just applying that to one topic in the map, but of course I can select multiple branches at any one time and make changes to more than one topic at once. We've also got, as you can see in this menu, options to change the shape of any topic. Again, this can be applied to multiple options, as well as the font, so the text style that's within the option within the topic. And we can also influence and change and format the connectors, as they call them. And these are really the lines underlying the text, and also the connections that sort of show the arrows if we wanted to go in between the different topics. So plenty of options using up here the formatting menu, but we can also apply, as I said earlier, the right click and use the style menu to make changes to the map this way around. So again, we can play around with the shape of the topic. We can play around with the colors from here, and again, it's really just your preference as to how you want to see these things represented when you are creating your map and formatting that information. Personally, I prefer to be doing this from up here in the format menu. I find it's easier to make changes. If I change my mind, I can just go back in and quickly change that font color up there, instead of always having to right click and open that style menu. So I'd recommend probably using this format menu up here to make quick changes, but maybe if you're going for more extensive changes across the entire map, you might want to use that right click and style menu. Next up, let's look at how to start adding some visual interest to our mind maps using some of the different options we have in MindGenius. So first off, we can think about adding images to our mind map, and there's a couple of different ways to do this. We can add images either from our local computer or from the inbuilt library of images within the software. To illustrate how you add something from your computer, we can just come up here to the main menu and look for the insert option, and then come along to the browse for a picture. This is going to open up a dialog to enable you to look through your own folders and files on your computer, and therefore you can find an image that you want to add into the map and simply double click, and there it is. If you want to browse the images within the MindGenius program itself and see what options they may have to make life a little bit easier, you can click the browse gallery option. Now this is going to pop open this little view down here to the bottom on the left, and that again has got a whole sort of folder structure of different pictures that you can use in your MyMap, and we can just pop open and add any of these different images to the software topic that we're on, and there it is in the map again. When it comes to editing, again, nice and simple. We can double click on any of these images and play around with the positioning, the size, or anything else we really want. We can decide to place the picture above the text, to the left or the right of the text in the topic, and we can also then even start to experiment with the size of that image as well. From here, we can also say to clear the picture, so to delete it or to change it and then start applying something else. So if I click OK, I would expect now this image to shrink a little bit and move to the left of the text, which you can see it's done there. So adding images and editing them into your software is a great way of adding some visual interest to your MyMap, and whether you use images from your own computer or from the MindGenius gallery, you've got plenty of options when it comes to adding and editing those images. Another way we can add some useful visual cues to our mind maps is using the category icons within MindGenius. If I just open up this menu over here on the left, which is called the Map Explorer menu, you'll see I've also got a set of icons under this little menu item here called categories, and that means I can then just start to mark up certain information in the map with particular icons. For example, if I wanted to mark something as a priority 1 and maybe add that it's got maybe a smiley face because it's going well, I can add that to the map. Alternatively, if I wanted to mark something perhaps as a priority 2 and maybe say that it's off track or going badly, I can use these other combination of icons to do that. Now, in MindGenius, there are lots of ways that these icons can help you later on in terms of categorizing your information, but in terms of adding that visual interest and some really clear little visual cues, the icons are a little bit more subtle than the images. They don't take up as much space, and obviously they're much kind of quicker and easier to just add multiple images, multiple icons rather, to any one topic to really give you a sort of legend and iconography around any particular topics in your mind map. To remove any of these, we can simply pop open this menu again and just remove the ones we've used. Similarly, again, if we wanted to change it, we can just select a different icon, again, remove as such. So nice and easy to add these icons and just mark up our maps and help us identify certain information in certain ways using these category icons. Sometimes in your mind maps, you're going to want to show a connection between two pieces of information which may be located in slightly different areas of the mind map. You can do this by drawing a mental connection between those items in your MindGenius map. The mental connection option is up here in the insert menu, and you scroll along to it here and select that option. And now if I just click on any topic and hold down my mouse, you'll see I've got this kind of line drawing out here, and I just need to then decide where the connection goes to. So for example, I'm going to draw a connection line between mental connection and editing, and I release the mouse and you'll see MindGenius has created this very striking line in the map. Now again, I might not want that to look quite so striking in my map, so I can come in here to the style options. I can change that the shape of that box on the connection. I can change the color so it's maybe a little bit less in your face. And what I've got now is something that's just drawing a quick connection between two options in the mind map. Editing, again, as I said, right click and style, and we can also then start to even make changes to the color of that line and show how that might show different endpoints. So for example, if something is a mutual relationship, we might have the sort of arrows that go at both ends. So lots of options here to customize this this connection between these two items using the MindGenius style options. Another nice way to visually signal that some group of information really needs to stand out is using boundaries in your mind map. And you can find the boundary options in the main menu under the formatting section where you'll find boundary. So if, for example, I wanted to wrap a boundary around everything here, I can come up into that menu and go to the format and then just scroll across here to this section called boundary. Now what I can do here is just select a style of boundary. So again, you've got different shape options there, and you'll see as I hover over them, MindGenius showing me what they look like. I'm going to go for this kind of square boundary around here, this box. Now again, you've got options within MindGenius to edit the color and play around with that. So again, if you want something maybe that stands out slightly differently, you can play around with the color images within there to make that boundary stand out. So another great way of adding some visual interest to your mind maps and really showing when a group or branch in your map needs to stand out for some different reason. If you want to change the background color of your mind map, it's very easy to do so going up into the main menu, the format section, and looking for the option that very explicitly says map background. So up here in the menu, we go to format, and you'll see we've got map background. Now you've got different options here. We could use even an image background if we wanted to, but for now I'm just going to use a simple background color change and just select a single color to use in the background of my mind map. So I'm going to use this green color, for example, and you'll see the entire background changes as I've just selected. I can also, if I wanted to, choose to do a gradient. So I could choose to go from a diagonal gradient, going maybe from a dark blue to the lovely green there. Click select, and again, if I zoom out on the mind map, you'll see that's been put in place. Now for me, I like my backgrounds to be pretty standard, not that exciting, so I'm going to just revert back to that slightly sort of grey background that I think tends to help the information stand out a little bit more. But as you can see, plenty of options to add some visual interest to your map using the background options. When using software like MindGenius, you've got the great advantage of being able to add lots of extra information to your mind maps without cluttering up the surface. There's a number of different ways we can do this, and I'm going to show you just a couple. The first is one that we use extensively at Biggerplate, and that's the notes feature. This enables you to put essentially a mini Word document behind any single topic in your mind map. You can access the notes feature either by going to the main menu and opting for insert, so we can come up here and say home, insert, and then add note, and this just pops open this left hand menu again. As you can see over here, I can add extra text without creating clutter. This enables me to add lots of extra information into my Mymap, but keep the surface level of the map nice and clean. So I will quite often copy chunks of emails or bits from websites that I want to remember straight into the notes section and just then hide that again, and I know that the menu, the little icon here tells me I've got some extra information here, and if I hover over that icon you can see it actually shows me that text without me even having to click into it. Another way we can add notes into a topic is actually just by right clicking and hitting the option just down here that says add note. Again, pops open that same editor on the side where we've got plenty of options to add text. Again, when I close that, we then see that little icon will pop open back again to tell me that I've got notes here. So you've got these little visual signals to tell you that there's some extra information just beneath the surface here, and we can really quickly jump straight into that note if we want to edit and change as ever we need to, simply by popping open this side menu, and there is the note editor, which we can reach just by clicking this pencil icon down in the bottom left in case we're using one of the other Explorer options at the time. Hyperlinks are another great way of saving little signals and signposts to other information that you might want to use, particularly websites. You can get to the hyperlinks menu through the main menu and that insert section, where you can see the add hyperlink option is almost immediately in front of you. So if we click that option, what we've got here is the ability to then add in a web address. So let's add biggerplate.com in here. Click OK, and that's MindGenius is then going to save that almost like a bookmark on this particular topic. And if I click the hyperlink icon there and then hit the web address, it's going to pop open a browser on my computer and take me directly to whatever web page I've saved into the Mymap. It's a great way of keeping all of your kind of web pages and bookmarks in a place that makes sense and in context using this hyperlinks function. If at any point you want to edit or remove those hyperlinks, it's just as easy as coming back into that main menu and then clicking edit and remove. Obviously you need to have a hyperlink on the topic in order for that to be possible. So if I click this topic, come back up here into the insert menu, you'll see I've got the option to either edit the map, edit the hyperlink. So if I maybe wanted to change something, maybe update the address, or simply remove it, I can do so right here. Finally, attachments give you a way of connecting together your MindGenius maps with other documents so that everything can be connected and carried together in one place. You can add attachments to your map again from the insert section of the main menu. So for example, just next to the hyperlinks that we just used, we can say add an attachment. We can then browse files and folders on our computer to maybe find something that we want to attach and connect to this Mymap. So let's take, for example, where I know I've got a PDF here. Let's attach that PDF into the Mymap on that particular topic. Just like the hyperlinks take you to a website, if I hover over that PDF symbol and then click it, that's going to pop open that PDF, finding it on my computer and opening it up for me to review as soon as I click that link. And you can see it's just popping open there. If again I want to just edit or remove that attachment from the topic, you'll see that contextual menu is up here again just as it was before for the hyperlinks, enabling me to edit or even just remove that PDF attachment. So I can just highlight that one there and remove it. Exporting your maps from MindGenius is a great way of sharing your content with people who may not have access to the MindGenius software, or who you maybe want to share a read-only version of your Mymap so that they cannot make any changes to it. I'm going to show you just a couple of the most common exports that we see. One is creating a PDF of your Mymap and the other is sharing as an image file. Now you've got options within MindGenius if you go into File and say Share to create a PDF, and we can just click to say yes, create a PDF. We need to save that somewhere, so let's save it here. We're just going to overwrite the existing one that I did as a test. Say overwrite that and give us a PDF version. So MindGenius is going to turn that into a PDF, and you can see what it's done here is just turned that entire image of that Mymap into PDF format, which means you can send and share this with anyone and they'll be able to zoom in and out on that content and see all of the different things that you were coming up with in your Mymap. When you use that option in MindGenius, it also creates this text outline of the content underneath, which some people find quite useful. Now for me, this creates a PDF that's a bit long, and I don't actually find this type of output that helpful. So actually within the software, what I quite often do to create PDFs very quickly is actually just say to print. And on my computer, but this won't be necessarily the same for everybody, I've got the option of saying print to PDF, and I can say print a map image only and say OK, and pretty quickly, let's just call this export to. Hopefully what I'm going to get this time is just the map image without the text outline. Now again, it's going to depend on what your personal preference is, but if I come now down to my desktop and hit export to, hopefully what I'm going to get is a single one-page PDF view of however I had the map displaying in the software when I chose to do that print option. If it had more of the branches expanded, you'd be seeing more of them in the PDF. But you see you get a really nice shareable output here as a PDF, which is great. Other options, of course, include exporting this as an image, and really the same rules apply. What we can do here is export as a JPEG, a PNG, or other less common file types. But let's say, for example, we want export just as a PNG file. Again, save it to the desktop, hit save. We're going to get a few options here. We could say, do we want the current view or the full map? Let's go for the full map, so it's going to expand all those branches. We've got options to play around with size here, but for now let's just say OK on that. And again, you'll see MindGenius is really quickly there, created a lovely looking image file that I could send to people. I could embed in presentations or documents, whatever I choose. So really nice ways of turning your MindGenius mind maps into shareable outputs using the export options. So there you have it, our simple guide to getting started with MindGenius. Using the core features demonstrated in this video, you'll be able to create amazing mind maps and get the maximum benefit from this fantastic mind mapping software. What's more, you've seen everything you need to know in order to complete the Biggerplate certification process using MindGenius. Visit biggerplate.com/certification to find out more. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope you enjoy getting started with MindGenius. For more mind mapping templates, tutorials and training, please visit biggerplate.com.